Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for requesting this private session that William and I are going to do to try out some EFT for ADHD. I kind of thought we'd do something around focus, getting distracted, that kind of thing. Does that seem to resonate?
Yeah, I mean, who knew I might have focus issues?
So this is a surprise today.
Yeah.
So do we need some help getting over that first? So how much does your own personal distraction feel like an obstacle to you every day?
Depends on what I'm trying to get done. My kids are around because they're great distractions.
Yeah.
But I think it's the distraction when trying to get started on something. There's the resistance to start what I'm supposed to be working on, and then I have that, oh, I should do this and I should do that, and then that can keep me from getting started. And it's less of a problem once I've started to keep the focus, but getting the focus to start.
Okay. To initiate. I can understand that completely. It's like you know what you need to do, but pulling the trigger to get it done is difficult. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a round of tapping, which essentially means that we're going to, start and set things up on that karate chop point, like I talked about during your show. And then we're going to go through 8 other points that are the typical EFT tapping points. And they are at the top of the head. And I just kind of use all my fingers. You can use 2 if you want, it doesn't matter. People like to tap with their kids. One of my guests was recently talking about how she does pirate tapping and she does it like a hook. Whatever, you can have fun with it. So the top of your head, and then there's the eyebrow, like right where your eyebrow starts, and then the outside of your eye here, under the eye. It's really just kind of right on that bone of your skull as it goes to the orbital eye bone. And then under the nose, under the mouth. Yeah, it's a good idea to take the glasses off. Collarbone, and then under the arm. So those are the main points that we're going to work with. And it's just going to be a repeat after me kind of thing. Now, I will say for people who are at home trying this or wherever you're playing the video and giving it a go, if there's something that I say that's not quite right for you, feel free to change it. You're doing this, we're watching the video, and EFT really likes specificity. So the feelings, the better you can express them or whatever, go for it. And if you say it, and it's not quite right, it's not going to change anything for the negative for you. So I'm just going to have William repeat after me, and we're going to kind of just see how this goes. So when you think about your distraction, not being able to quite control things the way that you want to from that standpoint, or the overwhelm or inability to get started on something. We're going to look at that on a scale of 0 to 10, where like 0 is like, I don't have any problems. I'm not distracted. This is not an issue for me. And 10 is like, it couldn't be any worse. Where do you feel like you are on that scale now?
Right now, we're in the middle of things, so it's fairly low. Like if I was going to start something new, it'd probably be fairly difficult though.
Okay.
So like I'm going to go kind of the middle, like 5 or 6.
Okay. And sometimes we have trouble just determining that because we feel like the number is really important, but really it's just giving us a jumping off point to know how much shift. So I always say, like, if you're an indecisive person who's like, I don't know, am I a 6, am I a 7? Is it a 6.5? Like, just pick a number, go with it. So you said a 5 or a 6. I'll put a 6. So, and what I say is, like, since you're not in the middle of doing any of those kind of things right now, just kind of think about something that you need to get started on that kind of you have that resistance to, and allow those feelings to kind of come to the top here while we're doing this so that they can potentially be released. And same goes for anyone listening to this, just like, whatever those negative feelings are, kind of bring them to the top. Get yourself fired up about it. If you got a project you need to do, maybe look at the project or look at the thing you need to do and feel the feelings about it, and then start the round. So we're going to start the round now, and we're going to tap on the side of the hand and repeat after me. Even though I get distracted so easily.
Even though I get distracted so easily.
And find myself challenged every day by my ADHD.
And find myself challenged every day by my ADHD.
I choose to refocus.
I choose to refocus.
And I love, accept, and forgive myself.
And I love and forgive and accept myself.
Even though I can't control the ideas and images and thoughts that come alive in my head.
Even though I can't control the images and thoughts uh, come alive in my head.
They're like popping popcorn.
They're like popping popcorn.
And sometimes I don't even want to control them.
And sometimes I don't even want to control them.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I find it really hard to start new tasks and projects.
Even though I find it really hard to start new tasks and projects,
It just feels overwhelming.
it just feels overwhelming.
And I get anxious and resistant.
And I get anxious and resistant.
I honor those feelings and accept myself anyway.
I honor those feelings and accept myself anyway.
So much always going on in my head.
So much always going on in my head.
It is impossible to prioritize
It is impossible to prioritize
or understand the timelines associated with things.
or understand the timelines associated with things.
And I get off track.
And I get off track.
And I have trouble getting back on.
And I have trouble getting back on.
And then I beat myself up about it, which makes it worse.
And then I beat myself up about it, which makes things worse.
It can be really hard to get started on something new.
It can be really hard to get started on something new.
Or find my way back to what I was already doing.
Or find my way back to what I was already doing.
But I'm learning.
But I'm learning.
And I'm actually refocusing and clearing the clutter in my mind right now.
And I'm actually refocusing and clearing the clutter in my mind right now.
Clearing the distraction and the mental noise.
Clearing the distraction and the mental noise.
And allowing myself to get centered and feel clear in the moment.
And allowing myself to get centered and feel clear in the moment.
Sometimes my distraction feels like such an energetic and physical toxin.
Sometimes my distraction feels like such an energetic and physical toxin.
I feel like I misuse my time every day.
I feel like I misuse my time every day.
I get super emotional and hyperactive.
I get super emotional and hyperactive.
I get anxious and impulsive.
I get anxious and impulsive.
I don't always have the best reactions.
I don't always have the best reactions.
Things don't always turn out the way I want them to.
Things don't always turn out the way I want them to.
And I feel like I'm never going to get things done.
And I feel like I'm never going to get things done.
Or accomplish my goals.
Or accomplish my goals.
I feel like focus is so vital to my success.
I feel like focus is so vital to my success.
And since I'm challenged by focus,
I
sometimes feel so much self-doubt and fear of failure.
I feel so much self-doubt and fear of failure.
Is it possible that I'm avoiding success?
Is it possible that I'm avoiding success?
I could spend hours on meaningless stuff.
I could spend hours on meaningless stuff.
But when it's time to focus on what matters, I get all confused, disinterested.
I get all
confused.
Confused, disinterested. What a
See?
word.
Point in case. Tired or resistant.
Tired or resistant.
Is it possible that I'm actually afraid to get what I want?
Is it possible that I'm actually afraid to get what I want?
If that's the case, I'm releasing that fear down to a cellular level.
I'm releasing that fear down to a cellular level.
And allowing myself to accept what is.
And allowing myself to accept what is.
And to know that I am safe achieving what I want to achieve.
And know that I am safe to be achieving what I want to achieve.
And to be comfortable in my own mind and skin.
And to be comfortable in my own mind and skin.
ADHD and all.
ADHD and all.
All right, I want you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. You may feel like stretching, you may feel like yawning. Any of those things are all energy moving. So do them if you feel them. I also highly suggest that if you're not already hydrated when you start this, to definitely drink up, because again, moving energy, and energy prefers, being able to move through something. And sometimes it can be harder to release blockages if you are dehydrated. So with that new tip in mind, if you were before you did it, do it again, might make a difference. So what came up for you while we were doing that?
It's like somebody said, like, oh, I want to talk about this too. And I want to talk, like, a lot of the lines were my brain being like, oh, I'm this is true. And now I'm like, okay, which like, I'm like specific lines, but that's not important. There was a lot of like, okay, yes, I know I feel these feelings, and they can be released. Like it's a lot of it isn't important for me to hold on to.
Right. Not serving you.
Yeah. It's like, I can accept it. I can be like, okay, yeah, that I can accept that belief and be like, yeah, I can feel this way, but I also don't necessarily need to. I can be like, yeah, I feel bad about these things, but I don't need to feel bad. That's just who I am.
Right.
And just definitely a release of like some tension. There's lots of tension to release, so releasing some is always good.
Yes. Where do you feel like you are on that scale of 0 to 10 that we talked about before you started the round?
Well, when we started out, you're like, think of something. I was like, oh, I know a good one. Answering emails is something I always struggle with on focusing and getting done. And I'm like, oh, that's more like an 8 or a 9.
They pile up faster than you can possibly respond to them in any kind of nice way.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm like, oh, I'll figure out how to say that later. And there's less of that. Oh, I don't have to wait to answer them. I can just, it's not as important to worry how people are going to interpret what I say. Just be like, so less anxiety about how people would interpret what I would say.
This is a little off subject, but that's exactly why, like, I send those videos. Like when we got connected to do your show, I sent you a video, and I normally I batch those and I send them to hosts like once a week. And it's a total ADHD hack, but I like it because I feel like so often the typed word, especially when you're talking to people you don't know very well, can be taken wrong, kind of like texting and the and everything. But, if I'm at least kind of like looking decent and, I'm doing podcasts anyway, I'm like, who needs to hear from me? And I just do like little, like 2 to 4 minute videos. It's faster for me than writing and rewriting, because I'll get into that loop when I am writing. Oh, does that sound, I don't know. I'm just like, here I am. This is me. Here's what I need to say. And then I just send the link. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but that has definitely helped me, using just screen record and creating a hyperlink that I can easily send to people. Like, oh, that saves me so much time and so much mental energy and worry, because I'm like, it's pretty hard to misconstrue my authenticity and my genuineness when I'm right there looking at you and talking to you in a video.
Yeah. There's no worry. Like, did I get the right tone here? Do I need to throw in another couple emojis?
Right. Oh, I love my emojis. Yeah. So where do you feel like you're on the scale now?
So I started when I actually started, like, we'll say an 8, and then I'd be like 3 or 4 now.
That's awesome. So when you started thinking about the email, it escalated, And then you got back down to a 3 or 4 and essentially cut it in half, if not more. So that's awesome. And that was just in a few minutes time. Like, and, you know, if we were doing a session together, then now is the time when I would be like, all right, William, so 3 or 4, like, what is that? What's your 3 or 4 made up of? Like, what is still left for you? And, you know, we might throw in some different types of tapping or some eye movements or things that really get the left and the right side of the brain kind of integrated on that, and do what we can to get that down to a 0 and then see what happens. But yeah, so it's always important to know what's left. What is that I'm still feeling? And then if you were to be continuing tapping, that's what you'd work on next.
Okay. That's how it would be. I can see how that would be really helpful to be like, okay, we get to here and then we can see what's next. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, so if you were thinking about the email this time, then just pay attention, be conscious next time you log into your inbox to answer emails. Now, what am I feeling? It's a little different, like, than I'm used to feeling. Like, it's kind of unfamiliar. I'm not really as resistant as I'm used to being. Like, you may notice that. Don't be surprised. So thank you, everybody, for tapping along with us and trying this out. I love hearing from people, the same kind of stuff that I asked William. If you want to tell me, like, where you started, where you ended, what came up for you along the way, I geek out on that stuff. And I'm always happy to hear from people that have tried this. For so many people, I know it's the first time you're probably ever trying this technique, and it's exciting. So feel free to reach out to me. Theresa@theresalearlevine.com is my email, and I welcome your messages. And I'll bet William would probably love to hear from you too. So thank you again for tapping along with me, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks.